Hello, this is David Briggs.
And I'm Alexis Briggs, and this is our first ever episode of our podcast, Movie Addicts Anonymous.
And basically, why we got into this is we heard about this thing called AMC Stubbs. And we're actually South Dakotans who now live in Phoenix, Arizona. And we went to Nancy Drew months ago in March. And basically, it was one theater had it in all of Phoenix, and she wanted to see it. So we went to that, and right away they're like, it says AMC Stubbs. Be on the A list. Watch up to 3 movies a week. And then we're like, what is this? So what we did is we checked it out. Total bargain. If you're big movie junkies like we are, we're just basically just novice. If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, also, sorry to our friends back home because South Dakota does not have AMC Theaters. At least Sioux Falls doesn't. I'm not sure about the other side of the state, but so this does not apply to you if you live in South Dakota. But basically, you pay $20 a month to see up to 3 movies a week. And so we thought, why the heck not? We live so close to the theater anyway.
Yeah, and we wanted to get it, and they have the theaters, they have the really nice lounge chairs, and those movies can be like $18 one ticket if you go like at night. And so if you go a movie and a half, you already have it paid for the whole month.
Exactly. So since March, we had to do a little research and figure it out. We have seen 21 movies together, and David has seen 10 by himself.
And one of those reasons I've seen so many by myself is I am just a horror junkie, and she doesn't always want to see horror, which I get, and I like really obscure movies, and she was back home in Sioux Falls, so I don't know a lot of people here, and other than golfing, I mean, I'm just going to go and see movies all the time.
And I am not a solo movie seer. I don't know what it is. I think it's really awkward. I'm uncomfortable. So I do not go by myself. David does go by himself.
Yes, and what we can do...
So we just kind of wanted to ramble off the ones that we've already seen. Just so that you guys can get kind of an idea of what we've already... how many we've already seen and what we've already seen. The vibe, I guess, the genres of what we go and see together. Because what we see together is more hodgepodgey than what David sees by himself.
Yeah, what I see by myself, and what we'll talk about is what we can do in some other podcasts. I watch, I see a trailer, and if it's really weird, I want to see it, because I'm like, oh, I saw that movie.
We've also kind of gotten into the habit of, if we see... because of the deal that is AMC Stubbs, if we see a trailer that we kind of maybe enjoy just a little bit, we still go see it because we have 3 movies a week.
And that, yeah, and there's been a couple of those already. I can, on the top of my head, is Crawl and... let's see, one we saw together that we probably wouldn't have went to... The Intruder is another one.
Yeah.
Those are a couple that we just be we'll just wait for that to just come out.
We were going to wait for it to go to Prime or Netflix or Hulu or something along those lines before we wasted money, I guess, to go see it. But since we have the option to see 3 movies, we keep thinking, why the heck not? Yeah. Let's do it.
Even, that's what I think it is, and you just find these diamond in the rough, and what we'll do right now is we will just go through the ones that we've seen, all right?
We're not going to review them or anything. We're just going to give a general list.
But since this next couple weeks are a little dry on movies...
Well, this next weekend for sure, because it's a holiday. Has, nothing coming out. So if you hear one in our list that, sparks a little interest, you're oh, I kind of wanted to see that.
Tell me about it, because a lot of these are, you can just see them already.
A lot of them are still in the theaters.
A lot of them are still in the theaters. A lot of them you can rent, you can stream, whatever. So we'll go.
Let us know if there's one that you want to hear a review on.
Ooh, Missing Link was another one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Go ahead, David.
ADD clicking it. All right. Us, Dumbo, Pet Sematary, Missing Link, Endgame, The Intruder, Ugly Dolls, The Hustle, Detective Pikachu, Aladdin, Booksmart, Rocketman, Secret Life of Pets 2, Toy Story 4, Lion King, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Art of Self-Defense, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Angry Birds 2, Good Boys, Ready or Not, which we just saw yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So if you weren't keeping count or like didn't want to do the math or whatever, 21 movies in about the span of 4 months is a movie a week. So we're still not even doing the 3 movies that we could be doing, and we see a lot of movies.
I almost saw half more. I have another list that I'm about to say, but yeah, there's 10 more that I saw.
Yeah, that's just together.
Yeah, just to get together. And now the ones that I've seen alone, there's a theme. It's cluttered with randomness. Right away is Beach Bum, Ma, Child's Play, Annabelle Comes Home, Yesterday, Spider-Man, Far From Home, The Dead Don't Die, Midsummer, which, like I said, I'm not going to do reviews, but oh my gosh, that might have been one of the worst movies I've ever... Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. If you want to do a review, I mean, they talked about how that movie is so...
Transcendent.
Transcendent. It's art. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of horror movies. I'm not an expert by any means, but just for the regular moviegoer, you're not going to get it. The beginning and a little bit of the middle was okay, but it was just a cluster of just randomness trying to shock you. If I wasn't if it wasn't a 3-hour movie and I had nothing to do, it was like on 4th of July, she was back home, I would have walked out like the second it started getting weird, but you were already in there for how long? It's a 3-hour movie. So
plus that was one that like I had absolutely zero interest in seeing from the get-go. Like it just didn't spark any kind of interest in me, not only because it's like a horror movie per se, but like I just also had no interest. And so like it didn't hurt my feelings not going, but also the reviews that people were posting online and what you were hearing on the radio and all that stuff made it seem like it was going to be like the greatest horror movie that has ever come out and has ever been invented. And then when he told me that, it was such a disappointment. Like,
and walking out, I heard people, I actually talked to a couple of the people that were in the theater with me, and we all were like, I'm not swearing. This is going to be a non-swearing podcast, so hopefully I haven't yet. But, yeah, we were just thinking, what the heck was that? I mean, like, what was that? Like, if you've seen this movie, you agree with me. But, yeah, I'm going to keep going on. And then Crawl, which I had no expectations. I saw the same week. Fantastic. And the last one I saw by myself was Stuber. And those were all the movies we have seen since
So, if you
March.
didn't catch on, our movie habits together, it's like a lot of the popular movies we like to go see, the ones that are expected to do really well in box office, we make sure we go see. But also, like, I'm a huge Disney fan, massive Disney and, like, any kind of, like, children's movie, I guess. Like, that's just kind of my wheelhouse. So, like, Dumbo and Missing Link and Aladdin and Toy Story 4 and things along those nature, Angry Birds 2, those are definitely,
really
like,
good, by the way.
My influence. And if you couldn't tell by, like, David's alone list, his preference is...
My preference is just suspense, horror, basically anything that, if it just strikes me, it's going to be weird, I'm interested. Psychological thriller is very interested to me. I mean, I think one of the reasons, well, we can have a podcast, like, what really got you in movies, like, or who, or, I mean, my parents, obviously, we're not going to go into it, but They love sitting down for movies. That was kind of like good family time as a kid, along with football. Diehard Steelers fan, if you don't know me. But yeah, like I think one of my first movies was Rear Window, and that just hooked me. That and Psycho, but yeah. So on to that basis, with all the movies we've seen and what we're thinking of doing is, ratings. You have Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb.
That was the big thing. Like, Rotten Tomatoes is, like, the place to look at movie ratings. But I always feel like user ratings are more true to, like, how I feel about it. Like, or, like, the viewer ratings or whatever versus, like, the critic rating. Like, what movie did we go see that you and I just, like, absolutely thought was, like, so good? And then Rotten Tomatoes, like, demolished it. It's happened a couple times where we thought, like, oh, yeah, totally worth your time, but it's not important. There's more than one movie. No. But, like, that's the point.
Yeah, same thing on the flip side. It has this great Rotten Tomatoes rating, and you go to it, and you're
then
like,
it's horrible.
What is this?
Right.
You get that feeling, you walk out of the theater, and all you have in your head is, I don't know what just happened.
Exactly. I feel like Rotten Tomatoes isn't always, like, I don't know. I feel like those people must
It's a great like just kind of outliner, but
if you just want to read like the general synopsis from Rotten Tomatoes, that's fine. But their reviews are all over the joint all the time.
That's like this podcast. You don't have to even agree with us, like, if you should go to a movie or not, but we just basically want to put it out that, like, if Rotten Tomatoes gave this a bad rating, that doesn't mean you can't go to this movie. That's what it kind of means.
Exactly. Plus, like, so not only are we going to be talking about movies that are new and coming out and ones that we're going to see, but we also thought it would be fun to, like, bring in some, like, older movies or, like, a themed podcast. So, like, a theme could be, like, a cult classic. And I don't know about you, but a cult classic for me is definitely Napoleon Dynamite. So that, like, lives right in that cult classic window. But, like, David has probably a different definition than I do.
Cult classic comedies. The cult classic in the thriller and the horror. Obviously the recent one, the Human Centipedes, which they're a cult classic. I don't know. I'm more of like the animal human thing. I'm a huge fan of Tusk. Really weird movie.
We can review that one another time, because that one could have like an hour podcast on its own.
I could talk.
Yeah.
That's and another thing. I doubt Rotten Tomatoes gave that anything, but like,
I know, and it's one of your favorites.
Well, I love it, and I could talk about that for days.
So we also talked about classic movies as a theme. For example, David's mom loves watching The 7-Year Itch and making us drink champagne and dipping our potato chips in it, just like Marilyn Monroe does in that movie. So that would be a really good example of like a classic film.
Ooh, yes.
And then David wanted to talk about crappy movies because, believe it or not, when David was young, him and his little friends used to get together and purposefully watch really crappy movies.
Oh, and it's not like, this movie, that was like the worst movie I've seen in the theater. No, these movies are some of the worst movies that have ever been lensed to set. Some of the worst movies ever. They're just terrible. I don't want to give any way of just titles, but like, yeah, we have seen so many, my high school buddies. Hopefully some of you are listening to this. But like, yeah, I could have some of them on, call some of them up for it. But yeah, we would have a bunch of the marathons, and we had a bunch of different ones, and it's wild how many movies movies that they really tried to be decent movies.
Yeah, that's
because there's one thing of like, there's movies they want to be cult crappy movies, and then there's
there are some that you can tell that these people, like, they really thought when they finished this movie that they were going to win an award or something.
Like Tommy Wiseau. But that is, talk about cult movies.
Yeah, that's like a cult and a crappy all in one. Anyway, another possible topic could be top 10s. We didn't want to say top 10 movies because that is constantly changing and so hard. But we thought, like, top 10, like, movie villains or top 10, even movie soundtracks or top... They all have to do with movies in some capacity, but we're not ever going to do, like, a top 10 movie because our lists are always changing.
Always changing. I mean, there's always a few that are always going to...
Yeah, like your tried and true.
Yep.
Always going to be there somewhere in the 10, but I know mine's always changing.
Mm-hmm. Mine too. I mean, there's a couple movies right now I want to put.
Right.
From just the last few months.
Otherwise... so at the end of every review, or at the end of every podcast, or however it works out, we are doing a rating system, and we made it really kitschy and cute because why not? Because it's movie themed. So we're going to rate the movie on G, PG, or R. G stands for, it's a general movie, go at your own risk. It's not great, you could probably wait for it to go streaming.
I wanted to do, this is what I want to do too, but, it could almost... I mean, G, it's from Midsummer. No, I won't be that hard. I don't want to be a Midsummer bashing first episode, but...
It kind of is.
It scarred me. I mean, come on.
And then, so PG is you should probably go. That's one that you should probably see in theaters. It'd be worth the cost to go.
But definitely go and probably, without the probably go, go and... If you can't go in theaters, go stream it when it comes out.
Yeah, it's one that you should actually make an effort to go see. And R is right now. You should probably own that sucker. You should find the nearest theater that's playing it at the closest time and go. Because it is totally worth your time.
I'm going to say something with the right now before we are going to talk about the movie we just last seen. But I will say you a right now that I think we can both agree is we saw Good Boys last weekend. And that is a right now.
For sure are. That is a right now, buy it, own it.
Go watch it. I mean, it's Sunday night.
Go see it 3 times.
You can go see it tonight. South Dakota is going to be a little later since you see it. Yeah, go see it tomorrow. I mean, that is one you'll want to see. And one thing I was thinking real quick is with themes, we could talk, we could do Netflix movies or something.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes Netflix movies could fall into the crappy movie.
Crappy
area.
Movies. There's a lot
You all have seen a shitty Netflix movie, and I just broke the rule, but that's fine.
Oh,
you've all seen it.
And yes, sorry Brenda song, but.
Yeah, okay, anyway.
All right.
So, we have told each other that we wanted to be a no spoilers podcast because how dumb would it be if you are like, oh, cool, I wanted to see this movie, let's see what they think, and then we tell you the whole story and you're like, oh wow, I guess I don't need to pay to go see that. So we're not going to spoil anything for anyone. So you don't have to turn the podcast off if this is a movie you thought you wanted to see, because we're not going to give anything away.
Unless, if you guys want, we could, one of those potential themes, that could be something we could do a spoiler.
If it's been, years since this movie has been in theaters, then we would consider...
Bruce Willis dies at the end, by the way.
Oh, no, he's dead the whole time.
He is!
He's dead the whole time. Oh, man. Okay, so, yesterday, we went and saw Ready or Not. And I am shocked at how many of the people...
That lady wasn't Margot Robbie?
Yeah, she looks just like her. I was glad you said that. But I was shocked at how many people, back home in South Dakota and, my friends from around there haven't heard of this movie.
No, it's weird, too, because, on the AMC, the movie's coming down this week. It says, coming soon, and then they go by order, usually. But then they have all these Indian stuff that... are just nationwide, and maybe one theater, one AMC is going to pick it up or whatever.
And then there's a lot of movies that are translated into Spanish because we live in Phoenix.
And Ready or Not was in the middle, and I had to look for them. I hope they have tickets because I want to see it. I've seen it in the trailer half a dozen times.
Right. So, David, what would you say the genre of that movie was?
I would say, if you're thinking horror, it's kind of a suspense, but it's kind of at the same time it's kind of a fun.
Yeah, I almost want to say like dramedy, but it's not like
There's
dramatic.
a little comedy in it.
It's like suspense and comedy.
Great
Had a
track,
baby.
and the sound in it is awesome.
Yeah. But like if you've seen the trailer, if you're someone that's actually seen the trailer, then you know that like it gives the illusion of looking like it's gonna be pretty scary.
And there's moments that it's scary, but like at the same time it's a really fun kind of campy. You'll hear me say that because that's but like it's fun. It's fun. Like
yeah,
the theme's like a fun suspense.
Yeah, and so I personally went in, like, for those of you that have seen the trailers and for those of you that haven't, we'll do a little recap here. So the trailer basically explains that she's getting married and he's from this really, really rich family that owns this company that creates board games. And, like, they're super rich. They maybe don't like her very much. At the end of the night, after the wedding, they have to play a game. And
Would you like to play a game?
She draws a card that says hide and seek, and she's like, oh my gosh, we're not really playing this, haha, yada yada. And then it like turns into the game of hide and seek isn't actually hide and seek, like the family seeks after her to kill her and she has to hide.
This was not our wedding type of night.
No, definitely not.
A little different.
But so like this plot of like human hunting has been done on like all kinds of stuff. Like TV shows have done it. Like I know you've seen a TV show where some really rich eccentric man owns this island and he like brings like 9 people in and he like hunts them. I know you've seen something like that.
And I mean Hostel, and there's some more like obscure movies, but yeah, you know.
Like that concept has been done, so I was kind of thinking like how is this going to be different?
How
like,
and it is different. This
yeah,
movie
it is. But
different.
before going in, I was definitely like, I've seen this idea done.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess my general thoughts, without giving anything away, was I am not someone that usually enjoys horror, suspense, thriller kind of things.
Well, she's getting more into it because during the previews, she was like, "Oh, I gotta see that one." She will poke me like. Or we'll give, like, the heads up, we gotta go see that, because we don't talk. That's another thing. We're going to talk about movie theater etiquette. Because we've seen some crazy stuff in the last few months.
Crazy business.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another episode.
Yeah, that can be hours worth.
But this one, like, I'm just not someone that usually enjoys that kind of thing. And I think, overall, it's the humor in it breaks up that tenseness enough where you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, that was funny, and then you're pulled back into like the story at hand.
That's the thing. You can't go into this movie thinking, ooh, it's a good movie. It's not by the genre. Some people
But you definitely have to appreciate the humor.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Definitely.
You can't go into it thinking like,
this is serious.
This needs to be a really good suspense. This needs to scare me, because if you go into that, especially nowadays, it's not going to work. Just go into it as just the movie itself, just the acting, the effects, just everything going on with it. If you go into that, because I used to be like that. I need this movie to scare me, and if it didn't, I'd be like, this movie was bad. But like sometimes the humor is too over the top in a movie like that, and they sprinkle it
like in The Visit.
The Visit was too much because
that was too much humor, not enough suspense, scary thriller kind of.
They had parts that it was going to be this really creepy movie in The Visit, and then there's just just random. Yeah, it's just like okay, and you might be hearing our cats. You
may or may not hear the cats.
They might have cameos, but
just ignore it. Anyway, overall, I do want to say though that if you are someone that like is not into like the gory shots, this may be not one that you want to see.
I know that's one thing that I didn't expect.
I didn't expect that either, but
it's fun gore. I mean,
David is okay with gore. I, on the other hand, was kind of uncomfortable, but it's not like It's not like it's a lot of it.
No, it's not like...
And it's not like what movie am I thinking of? It's not like Saw.
No,
it is not anything
it makes
like
you
that.
Feel dirty,
I just don't
have to take a shower
like
afterward.
blood and guts and yuckiness. So, like, if you're someone that gets a little bit about that, maybe not for you. But overall, my rating is a PG. I would say it's a probably go. Totally worth the money to go see it in the theaters.
I would do a probably go as well. I mean, if you're looking at I need to get scared kind of thing, maybe not for you, but
overall,
I think it's a probably go for sure. It's a great date night movie.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Take your Tinder date or something. No, but like seriously, no, yeah, I would probably go. It's not a right now, but it's definitely good. In between. It's good.
It's worth the money to pay for a ticket.
Yeah, even if you don't have that's what I think the PG. Even if you don't have stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally worth the ticket money to go to that one. So, as we are wrapping it up, we wanted to remind you that next weekend, because of the holiday, there's like 0 movies coming out that weekend.
And I think with the holiday and with football, I think that's
So, next weekend we won't be seeing a new movie, but in the comments, I will type up the list of movies that we've seen together. And you guys, please comment what one you would be interested in hearing a review about, and maybe other topics that you guys think, movie-related, obviously, that we could discuss or that you're interested in hearing or things along those lines. And the next movie that we'll be seeing is the weekend of September 6th. We're going to go see It Part 2. So
high hopes for that. I'm hearing great things about Bill Hader. Maybe like a mixed review about the movie itself, but I mean...
Yeah, I have high hopes too, because I really enjoy Skarsgård in that movie.
He's awesome. I mean, I talk about cult. I mean, I liked the made-for-TV one in the 80s.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the first one was so good. It broke all the records. It's the top grossing horror movie of all time in many levels. But yeah, so that's the next one. Anyway, yeah, just comment. This is our first ever podcast ever. These aren't going to be overly long or anything. I think this one's going to be around a half an hour.
Which is probably going to be like a pretty
regular it's
time.
Not going... We don't want to just...
And you can find our podcast on the Movie Addicts Anonymous Facebook page, because we looked into it, and in order to post on the actual podcast, like streaming podcast place or app or whatever, you have to like legitimately pay them money, and that is so silly because Facebook is for free. So drop a comment, like it, share it, all of the above.
Yes, we are Movie Addicts Anonymous. We're just normal people just trying to talk about movies and hoping Rotten Tomatoes isn't your only guide. We want just the normal person perspective, and hopefully that's Joe. And hopefully that's what we can do. So I'm David again,
and I'm Alexis, and
that's it. That's episode 1. So
okay, see you next Saturday or Sunday, one of those 2 days.
Bye-bye.